Welcome, folks. You're in the Corporation Nation. Hey, I'm back. It's Thursday, the 16th of April, 2015. Very, very, very interesting time at the Free Your Mind conference in Philadelphia. But I'll tell you what. I'm not going to talk about the conference today because the conference was really a chance to meet a lot of great people. I met some wonderful, wonderful people who I now consider as, I don't know what to say, friends beyond friendship is all I can say. And I've invited a few of those people to call in today and express their feelings about what we saw. Because on Monday after the conference, we all got together, about 12 of us, and we went down to have a little Masonic tour of Philadelphia. Now, I could not have been prepared for what I saw there. I could not prepare you for what you would see there either. I'm going to try to, though, today in words and through the words of those who were with me, experiencing and feeling what I felt, to try to explain what we saw there. Where to begin? So we all got together the Monday after the conference, and we headed down to Philadelphia, down to the touristy spot where the hall, the Liberty Bell, and the Independence Hall, and all that stuff is, and we checked that out. So we started in the touristy area, and as we kind of branched out from that area, once you get away from the touristy spot, you start getting into the serious stuff. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I did a little research, just a little preliminary research, because I'm going to make a huge blog entry on this trip and how it affected me in ways that I don't even know how to express. And I'm sure my guests today are going to tell you the same thing. By the way, if Joe or, excuse me, John or Drew or Pete, if you are listening, please feel free to call in, because, man, I just don't know what to say, but I'd like to get people's opinions as well and how they felt. But Philadelphia, where does the name Philadelphia come from, folks? You ever think about these things? Because now suddenly I am thinking about these things. They call Philadelphia the city of brotherly love. Now, why would they call it that? Well, it comes from Adelphia, the Greek Adelphoi, meaning brothers, a district of the city of Westminster in London. That's what we're calling Philadelphia. Now, Philadelphia has a specific meaning, actually. In Webster's 1828, a Philadelphian is one pertaining in Greek, pertaining to Philadelphia, or to Ptolemy Philadelphus, also known as one of the family of love. From Delphian or Delphic, relating to Delphi, and to the celebrated oracle of that place. Now, Delphi, of course, is the navel of God, or Gaia, in Greece, where they used to hold not the Olympic Games, but the Delphi Games. And, yeah, very interesting. Adelphia, it means a brotherhood, according to Webster's 1913, a collection of stamens in a bundle, as is in a flower. That's interesting. A stamen also means to stand, and to stand, of course, well, we know what that means, to occupy or hold the place, to have a situation, to be situated or located, etc., etc., etc. So, what does Philadelphia come from? Well, it comes from the Greek. I mean, this is nothing about this place, and I want to say this with the utmost stress and importance, folks, that the city of Philadelphia is absent of God, it is absent of nature, it is absent of anything good, it is purely evil, and the evil Satan, if you will, is spread out for you to see, if you have eyes to see, ears to hear. if you know what you're looking for, then you would be shocked at what you would see by walking around Philadelphia. Okay, and this is why I have, so far, let's see who we have on the phones here. Let's see, Joe, do we have you?
I'm here, Clint.
All right, well, Joe was with me that day. We're supposed to get some other calls. If anybody else is on the line. Oh, well, Jay in Canada?
Drew in Canada is here, Clint.
Oh, Drew, good. Drew! Now, Drew, I want to give a special shout-out because Drew's the one that does my archives off-site, and he's done a wonderful, wonderful job at taking those and putting them on the Corporation Nation Radio Archives.wordpress.com. A lot of people listen to the show that way. I sure want to give a big welcome and thank you to Drew, so thank you, Drew.
No problem. I enjoy doing it.
All right. And well, as anybody else calls in, we'll just have them chime in. But let's start with you two guys because, again, we met in the lobby of the Sheraton where the conference was. We headed downtown. We met at the statue of the signer, which was funny, and then we went to eat.
Yeah.
And the first thing we did was sit down and eat, and it was just one of those old Greek, East Coast Greek restaurants that had everything you could possibly think of. And the waitress was, to say the least, one of the most angry, unhappy, affected persons I've ever met in my life. I mean, I literally felt hated by the time we left there, and I think everybody felt the same way. Got my order wrong, and I wasn't about to complain. Just a horrible, horrible experience. And as we were progressing through the day, guys, did you not notice that city, in my opinion anyway, was just full of dead people, like people oblivious to what's around them?
People who were complete robots, and the waitress was just covered in tattoos. She was kind of like the illustrated woman, but she was nasty. Yeah, she was just...
Yeah, horrible. Yet I looked into her eyes, and I felt sort of an empathy that she was in a place that she just hated, absolutely did not want to be in. And then you combine what we were feeling while we were there, which was that negative energy, and we'll talk about that as we go on. But Joe, how about that diner experience, huh?
No, she was not very happy, and didn't really understand that at the time, but by the end of the day, I think I have some understanding as to why she might be that way, in a way that maybe she's not even consciously aware of.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody there is conscious. I think that the reason we were having such horrible, horrible feelings while we were there is because we were conscious, of all the things that were around us, and all of it was pure, for no lack of a better term, just pure evil.
Yeah, it was unconditional evil, and between the 10 or 12 of us, we were able to decipher, so many drawings, so many coats of arms, and there was nothing that was Christian. It was all... I have never seen that many snakes and serpents in my entire life. It was
amazing, right? So we started off again in the touristy area, and we were sort of looking at all the buildings, and these buildings, they were all banks and insurance companies, international carriage companies. I mean, everything was a commercial instrument, and what we noticed is that every single one of them had one of three symbols, usually together. And in the case of that area where Independence Hall is, where the Liberty Bell is, which is highly, highly restricted, by the way, which I think is funny, Liberty, but the buildings were all commercial, mercantile, law of the sea, merchant type of industries, and each one of them on their seals, on their shields, the arms, in other words, they had a ship, like a pirate-looking ship, one of the old galleons. Under that, they had a plow, which we assume is the law of the land, and then under that, we assume is the bundles of wheat, which they apparently say is liberty, which means abundance or possibly slavery. I'm not sure. And so wherever you went, it was this sort of strange notion of which was on top, the plow or the ship. Was the law of the sea on top, or was the law of the land? Which won it? Well, all around where the Constitution was signed, it was pure admiralty, so the law of the sea, the ship was always on top. And when we went to the actual City Hall, which is probably the most evil place I've ever been on earth, it was the plow was over the ship. Right? And we looked at that, and we instantly knew, because of all the things we've been talking about on this show, we knew what we were seeing.
Well, I mean, once you hit about your 10th or 12th ship and plow, it gets pretty hard to dismiss it, doesn't it?
It does. We also walked into one of the, I believe it was an insurance company. I mean, these are the original things, so actually stores were in there, things like the Jewish American Studies Center and that kind of thing, which proudly portrayed George Bush, by the way, as a Jewish American study. Senior. One of them, we walked in, and it was beautiful, 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 like deco. There were Rosicrucian stars all over the place. The seal was there. It was very, very obvious that this was in celebration of something other than what we consider as the American way.
Well, now that you mentioned it, there was just an overwhelming amount of reference to England and Queen or King, perhaps at the time, in a way that might surprise a lot of people that thought, we rebelled and got away from all that stuff. But there was a lot of reverence to the royalty and to England everywhere.
Well, yeah, there was a shield still hanging in very preserved condition, and we looked up the translation because it was obviously a shield that I'd seen before. It had a unicorn on one side as the heraldry and a lion on the other, and I knew where that comes from. And it says, literally, the translation of it says, "My God, my right," or "My right, my God." And we looked it up in the Latin, and it is what is said by the Crown of England. It is their term, and I could not sit there and think anything else, but this is in your face blatant treason if we are to say that we are actually separated from the Crown or from the Vatican or from anything else. Why is that hanging there in the middle of Liberty Square, in the middle of Independence frickin' Hall? Why is the Queen's motto, the Royal Coat of Arms, why is it hanging there? And I understand that this was the center of the East India Company. This was the mercantile capital of the United States. Right here, it was ugly. It was absolutely corporate. I understand why that was hanging there, but you want to tell me why it's hanging there in 2015? Anyone?
And everything is in plain sight. I mean, they aren't hiding anything. I mean,
right.
And perhaps you should tell people how we found out what USA really stands for at the...
Yeah. So as we start branching out and getting out of the touristy area, going just a little farther, we come to the U.S. Customs House, which is this massive, massive building, right? We're walking along the back of it, which all these interesting buildings everywhere. I mean, just unbelievable symbology and everything. Evil. I mean, that's the only word I can attach to this. The true epitome of evil. I've put all kinds of pictures and signs and symbols on my blogs to show what's really going on. I could have never, ever imagined that this was Philadelphia. I could never have imagined how right I have been and how unpromoting of the evil I have been. I have not given the evil credit enough. That's the truth. And folks, you can only experience this if you go there. I swear. It's the feeling of being there. So we're walking along the back of the Customs House, going to the front, Big, huge building, huge lot. One of the guys who's with us is taking pictures, and I'm going to put these pictures on a blog here eventually. And he's taking pictures of all the architecture and all the imagery and portraits and just evil, evil stuff on this building. And he was taking a picture of Hermes. Hermes, folks, Hermes, very, very, very proudly displayed on that building, okay? I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I can read you what Hermes is, the great Olympian god of animal husbandry, roads, travel, hospitality, heralds, diplomacy, trade, thievery, language, writing, persuasion, cunning wiles, athletic contests, gymnasiums,
alchemy,
astronomy, and astrology.
Yep.
Okay, that is what is being celebrated on the U.S. Customs House. All right, so we're walking back there, and this security guard is from Africa, obvious African accent, not a natural-born citizen, obviously. He says, "Are you taking pictures?" And my friend Stubbs, he says, "No." Stubbs is from Canada. Wonderful guy. And he says, "No." He says, "Well, you weren't taking a picture." And he points to the surveillance camera on the side of the building. He says, "You were taking a picture of the cameras?" And he's like, "No, I was taking a picture of Hermes." It was great. These guys are like, "Huh? What do you do?" Oh, and but he just kept asking, "Did you take a picture of the camera? Can I see your phone? Give me your phone." He's like, "No, what the hell are you doing? What's the camera?" They're worried about the camera. These are absolute illiterate people. So we started talking to the other guy who's a little more experienced, and I don't know what to tell you, folks. If you were there, I wish we would have got this on film. But I don't know the order, but I said, why are you working for the white landholders who were slave owners? Why are you working and protecting their interests? Why are you here harassing us when they're your enemy? I don't know what to tell you. And he looked at me, and I expected some, order taker answer, and he says he knew what he was involved in, because he didn't give us one smirk, one smile. He didn't pretend like he was joking. He gave me no accounting that he was joking in any way, shape, or form. And I'm sure you guys would agree with that. He said,
absolutely.
He said, "Do you know what USA stands for?" And, we're thinking he's going to tell a joke. We're all, United this and that. He says, "Under Satan's authority," with an utterly straight face, with eyes that showed actual awakening understanding of what the hell's going on. I said, "Well, why the hell are you here then guarding it?" He said, "I got a family to feed." Of course, got a family, got to take care of. He said, "But as soon as I'm willing, I'm going to get the hell out of here." Now, I want to be clear. The security guard outside of the U.S. Customs House, right in the center of Philadelphia, right in the center, just outskirts of the Independence Hall, said the USA stands for under Satan's authority. And he was not joking. He was not just trying to pull our leg. He had genuine fear in his eyes. Now, do you guys agree with that assessment?
Absolutely, and you could have knocked us over with a fork when he said it. We were like, "Whoa, what did you just say?" And
yeah, it was completely unprompted, unprovoked. That's just what he said immediately. And
he wasn't joking. It
was an interesting thing, because he was saying that on the one hand, and then the other guy, the African, was just hot on it. The African gentleman, whatever you want to call that, I don't mean anything disrespectful, but there was just this huge contrast between these two security guards. The one guy that started it all with the accent really was an order taker, and he was just very focused and kind of bent on following and getting that camera, which was just so silly. The notion of, hey, I need your camera, which might be taking a picture of a camera, which would probably be taking a picture of you with your camera. I mean, it was just such a, but it kind of shows you how they're telling these order takers, hey, we really don't care about much, but if there's just some people, you know, walking within their own, you know, way, not harming, with cameras out, like a lot of tourists would be doing down in this whole district, right? If you see them pointing it towards our cameras, which becomes a security thing, you know, you have some authority, or you can start pressing the issue, and that's what the one guy was doing, and then the other guy was just like, hey, you know what this all is? It's USA under Satan's authority, and it was just like, whoa. I mean, it was just such a weird contrast.
Well,
my recollection, that was the break point where we went from sort of a weird, but still kind of, we were just seeing the symbols and going, wow, what's with the ships and the plows and how one's on top of the other, and really kind of drilling down in it and getting the trip to unwind to, boom, the customs building. And if you think about what U.S. Customs is, that's Admiralty law. I mean, that's where, you know, they've got, that's where the things can come in, right, and go out, and it's a very international holding house kind of thing for commerce. So,
well, again, in Hermes, the god of husbandry, roads, travel, I mean, diplomacy, trade, is on the building.
Yeah, he's their logo. He's like their patron saint.
Yeah, we saw Zeus's thunderbolt. We saw, I mean, we saw everything.
We saw everything except anything Christian. I mean,
nothing Christ-like, nothing holy in the manner that one would consider holy. Nothing to show that this was a Christian nation in any way, shape, or form, as is supposedly the case. And folks, again, we can only tell you our experience. We can only tell you what was said and what we saw. You have to go there yourself, and you're going to have to experience it yourself, because words will never, my pictures on my blog will never, ever really give you the feeling of what we were feeling. Am I right? Because I could never have described what happened.
Absolutely. And
go ahead.
And that city hall was finished in 1901. So in 114 years, nobody else has gone there and looked at all those
miss this kind of stuff.
evil things and commented on them. That amazes me.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm in shock. And again, the people, the closer we got to that city hall, and so, you know, after the customs house, and the cop followed us and watched us for a while. It was ridiculous, and he was just doing his job, as they all say. And you know, I shook the other guy's hand. Didn't shake that one's hand, but I shook the other guy's hand, and I said, "Thank you for your honesty, man. I appreciate it." And he had that look like the only person awake in that town that wasn't wearing a suit. And this is another thing I wanna talk about, guys, because I know you had the same experience. You noticed it too. Everybody in that town, as I said, was dead to what was around them, the symbology and everything else, the energy. Apparently they've just gotten accustomed to the negative energy that was there, whatever that means, dark energy. Yet, when someone in a suit would actually walk by amongst all the commoners, they would look at us, because we were looking around, noticing and pointing at things. We were actually pointing at the architecture, saying, "What the hell?" And they looked at us. It was like we were wearing the "they live" glasses, right? They looked at us like they could see what we were, and we could see what they were. It was the strangest feeling, because it was as if everybody else around us was in some trance, and we were the only ones that were actually looking around.
And now that you make that metaphor, or that comparison, you know, you see it in They Live, especially the scene where he's at the magazine stand and he looks over at the guy and, "Hey, what's your problem, buddy?" And that guy has the suit on.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of an obvious thing. It's like, yeah, it's the elite or whatever, the upper crust, the banker guys and all that. But seriously, when we were on this trip, it was the guys in the suit. I can remember a couple times, and they had, in both instances, the guys had the gray hair, just like in They Lived. I mean, they perfectly parted and everything.
Yeah.
And they were the ones where you'd kind of look up going, man, this is wild. And you'd look over, and they're looking at you with a little bit of a, frown on their face. So, I never really, maybe there's a little more to They Live. Maybe John Carpenter got to hang out with some of these guys or something.
I don't know. Drew, did you notice the same thing, too?
Oh, yeah, they were just glaring at us like, how could you try and draw people's attention to this stuff that we pass by every day? There's nothing here to see, folks. Nothing shiny. Move along.
Yeah, so wasn't it kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but we were obviously different than the people walking around who just were basically on their phones, looking down, not really noticing the hell they were in. And then there were us, we were doing the opposite of that, and then there were them. And you see, they, to me, seemed to stand out just as much as these other people because they had an awareness about them. And they looked at us like we were outsiders. And, we all noticed it. This was a group thing. And we talked about it, and it was freaky.
Yeah, and there was the one corner of the crossroads in the arch, and it was 20 degrees cooler than anywhere else, and it was heavy coldness, and all of us went, whoa, the temperature just dropped, and it just felt so evil and so cold and so deep, it was just, we couldn't figure it out. There was no source for the coldness, but I'm not sure, I think it was facing north, but it was really creepy.
There was no reason, and that was in City Hall, which was sort of City Hall was the peak. City Hall was, I don't know, we'll have to get into that in more detail, but City Hall was what made us all just sink into despair as we visited it. But before we got to City Hall, we were at the Masonic Hall. There is right across the street, less than 20 yards or whatever from the City Hall, and then next to it is some real Gothic, evil-looking church. Again, not really any signs of Christianity there. Just a very interesting. But we gotta go. We gotta take a quick break, man. We'll come back and finish this crazy stuff. We'll be back. So welcome back. We're talking to a couple gents who joined me on a little free-for-all tour of the city of Philadelphia. Again, Philadelphian goes back to pertaining to Ptolemy Philadelphus. Now, Ptolemy Philadelphus is Greek. Ptolemy the brother-loving, that is. In other words, the city of brotherly love. You wonder why they call it that? Well, it always goes back to this brother love thing that they had all throughout. So this guy, he was just happened to be the child of Queen Cleopatra VII of Egypt, and of course Mark Antony. Now, it's interesting because we're still celebrating Cleopatra. We just don't know it. We're celebrating her direct descendant, which is Angelina Jolie. According to the genealogical websites, Angelina Jolie is the direct descendant, married to her cousin Brad Pitt, of course. Got to keep it in the family. This is all about worshiping the gods of all time, and of course Cleopatra, any Caesar, any king is a god according to themselves. So that's what we're talking about here. When we say Philadelphia, we're really referring to an ancient bloodline going back to Philadelphus, Ptolemy Philadelphus. I mean, there's no way to get around that. Also refers to the Delphi. It also refers to the Dauphin of France, which was King Louis Joseph de France. That's what's celebrated there. It goes on and on and on. The King of the Romans, etc., etc., etc. William Penn was also involved in this, and he he did some serious stuff back then, but his statue is on top of the City Hall. So again, any notion that these men were of good or Christian or in any way, shape, and form truly religious men, man, no, absolutely not. Nothing. No. Absolutely not. It's I don't know what to say. I don't know about you guys, but I have absolutely no doubt in my mind whatsoever, no hesitation to say that all this work I've been doing to expose the fact that this is not a Christian nation in any way, was not founded on true Christianity, was not founded on the teachings of the Bible in any way, shape, or form, and that any notion that this country was founded by good men is gone. It is absolutely 100% left any conscious being. How about you?
I just realized what we were on. We were on the free your mind from the notion that you are free tour.
Yeah, pretty much. Drew?
And it was obvious that these men thought they were gods.
Well, yeah, the statues that are built of them, making them look all, muscular and huge and way larger than life. I mean, they commission their own statues.
And we saw statue and drawing after drawing of people being tormented.
Yes. Yeah, so that's...
I can't get over that.
That was the next step. We're walking in the little square across the street from the City Hall and from the Masonic Hall, which are next to each other, of course, and this big, ugly church, which I would have at one time said, oh, that's gothically beautiful. No, nothing beautiful about those churches. There's this statue, and I don't have the picture in front of me, so I can't tell you what it said, but it was the statue of the common people basically supporting one another in support of government. And we saw this same theme sort of throughout the entire city, right? We saw people, statues, pillars, and archways made of people of different races and commonalities, all supporting up the arches and the bottom of the buildings. That was the thing. But this thing was just the most disgusting thing I'd ever laid my eye on. Pure and utter evil. And it had these people sort of holding up government, and it was like in devotion to the people and freedom and this and this, and we were just laughing because it's how can anybody walk by that day to day and not be absolutely 100% insulted, or at least know that they're slaves to these people?
And I would not want my kids looking at it. Every person in it was naked. There were corpses at the top of it they were holding up, and every person was naked. And
right there, right next to City Hall.
Yeah, and right at the moment were a couple of looked like homeless people lounging up the bottom of it.
Yeah, in support of the people, while the homeless people starve underneath it. They're supporting government.
It was a shocking image.
What do you say, Joe?
I believe it made a reference to the Tree of Life in the blurb that it was saying, but for my take on the whole thing, that was about where the tour went from really just noticing the symbols and kind of getting blown away by the undeniable number of ships and Greek gods, etc., all these kinds of things that were just slapping us in the face, to a much darker tone, quite literally, because that sculpture you're referring to is kind of black stone, and it's got a just everyone was like, oh my, this thing is it just doesn't make you feel good to look at it, and I mean, it was ugly. It honestly, and I may, butcher the name of the artist, but it reminded me of a Hieronymus Bosch, I think is the guy, who's doing this medieval stuff, these paintings of people crawling out of hell, crawling over one another and people getting crushed under it, and it just had that really evil, but not just evil, really kind of depressing, like everyone's getting crushed, everyone's like killing one another, just trying to eke out a little something for themselves, and it had
While
that very
supporting
oppressive, oppressive, dark feeling, and that's
and it says, the people support government, right? The people are the pillar of government, or whatever it said. And it was disgusting. There was no one that could look at that and say, "Oh, that's beautiful," in any sense of nature. It was one of the most disgusting things I saw that whole time, and it wasn't the only one.
Yeah, and it's black metal. It's black metal. It's sucking in all the light. Nothing's escaping from it. So in so many ways, it was just evil. It was, Yeah.
Hey, if anybody else was there and wants to call in, give us your your experiences. Feel free. I asked everybody to call in, but it's tough. People are still traveling and stuff. But man, yeah, it was. Just incredible. And so at this point we're across the street from both the hall and the city hall. Let me call it City Hall. And one of our guys, Pete, man, he lives on a farm up in I think Upper New York, and he couldn't handle it. Just the people around were bothering him, but all the symbologies of the energy, the negative energy that we're all starting to feel at this point, was actually really, really affecting him. And he didn't even want to go across the street. It was just too much for him. And I loved the guy. He was a beautiful, beautiful guy. He's wonderful, wonderful. I'll consider him a friend. And I think we'll all remember.
He's a very gentle man, yeah.
Yeah, we'll remember this day for the rest of our lives. There's no way I can forget what I experienced this day. And so we walk across the street, and we're still, the closer we get, the more energy seems to be getting sucked from us. There's quotes out there that I don't even remember, but it was something ominous, and then we go in and we start looking at the symbology, and the first thing we see, we were checking out the outside of the building, but when we actually went in to the open square, it's like sort of like the Pentagon, how the middle is open, and it has 4 hallways that go through, and you can see different landmarks, and I'm sure it's on ley lines and all of that stuff. But the first thing we see, guys, nothing Christian, nothing constitutional, nothing governmental, but instead a zodiac. But not just any zodiac. It had a 13th symbol that a lot of people don't know exist. The original, or I don't know, whatever you call it, zodiac. A 13-symbol zodiac. You want to tell me why that was in the center point?
Created by Hermes, of course, yeah. But yeah, it was, and that was really bothering Pete. Like, as was walked on, he was going, "Well, I don't know how you can even go near that."
Yeah,
but it was really worn off.
So
very little visible on it. But
do you remember that? You guys remember that we had a member of our party that was, in theory, born of the 13th symbol.
Yeah. We had a guy named what was his name? Raul.
I want to say Raul or Raul.
Yeah, he's really good guy. I think he was from I don't know. I would guess India, and perhaps one of the Arab countries. I don't know, but fantastically nice guy. And he says, I'm born on that 13th, as that 13th symbol, and he alluded to it as a snake figure.
Yeah, it's sometimes the zodiac sign is the Ouroboros of the snake eating itself.
Oh, well, there you go. So one by one we went into the 4 different halls, and each one had a different, more horrifying sight than the last. Unbelievably, we couldn't have done it any better. I don't think, because each one was just worse than the next. It was just utter and pure evil. We spent quite a lot of time in there, taking pictures and looking at all the architecture. I mean, where should we begin, guys?
Well, I mean, one place to begin is if someone's listening in right now, and I can only imagine it might be more than one, saying these guys are full of it, this would be the building, if you just had a quick time in downtown Philadelphia, to just go to. Because this one, as far as I'm concerned, is, you know, it's the epitome of the dark stuff. It's where the trip went dark, because it was fairly cerebral and fairly about the symbols that we were identifying. I think it's not even that we were identifying the symbols correctly, it was that we were being clubbed over the head by the symbols. And so, I mean, they were in our face. There was no, it's like, did you get the 2 snakes? Well, if you didn't, just walk 30 more feet and look at another, sculpture.
Well, that was one of the things that, remember the doors, that the door was metal or wood door. I think they were metal doors.
The door handle, yeah.
Yeah, real archaic looking doors, and the door handle was basically a caduceus, and the tail was on one side, and the door handle was a two-headed snake, basically. Yeah. You had snakes eating themselves. You had snakes climbing up brambles. You had snake, serpent everywhere.
Yeah, and it's been there, like I say, for 115 years, and as far as I know, nobody else has gone there and photographed it and commented on it until we came along and went, whoa.
Well, right. I mean, I've certainly never heard anybody talk about this. I've heard people take, individuals taking tours of cities and stuff, and but I've never heard anybody go, what the? I mean, like I said, nobody could possibly go there, look at the symbols, especially knowing what we know, and come out of there thinking anything but we just entered into hell, literally, into a... here's a comment, man. Here's someone that just sent me a comment. They say, it makes me feel better that you're talking about this. I went there once in my early 20s, had the worst vibe. The second I got close to the landing at the airport, I kind of did too. Didn't leave until I touched down back home in the West. He says, I literally got sick as well. I swear it felt like a supernatural demon stronghold. And you know what, guys? The way I felt when we were walking, and we left because we were all feeling crappy by being there, and as we were walking out, man, my hands were as heavy as can be. They were bloated. I couldn't close them. Something was something was impressing upon me like I could not believe. I had to leave, and as I was walking out of there, I swear I felt some negative energy pulling me back. Not letting me go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I know that thing must be on some kind of ley line, some kind of energy. I don't know what it is. But, after living in Tahoe, which is a really good energy spot, and then going there, which is a really, really negative energy spot, I'm sorry, but I don't know what else to label this as evil, guys.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Monday that we all have dogs and things, and we know unconditional love. This was the exact opposite of unconditional hate and evil, and nothing's hidden. It's just right in your face.
Well, then that's what everybody said. Everybody had the same impression. This is it's right out there. Everybody can see it. It's in your face to the extreme. There's nothing hidden. There is no mystery that is hidden. It's all right there. Joe, you noticed that too. I think you were the one that said it in the first place.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not only not hidden, it's like making absolutely sure that you're going to be exposed to this stuff every however many yards. They leave nothing to chance. I mean, once you pass, like I said, the 12th ship and plow, and the hand holding the scales, and the 2 women, one holding the sort of lamp of enlightenment, and the other one holding the scroll with the pen. And you go by about 12 of those within a 3-block radius or less. And then, as you say, the caduceus is the 2 serpents everywhere. That was kind of the early part where we were just getting our minds around the fact that this stuff is everywhere, and there's no escaping it if you're looking. But as you were also saying, Clint, we're seeing everyone walking around not looking. we're seeing everyone walking around being mostly very unhappy or catatonic or just very zombie-like. That's the one that hit me tonight, or earlier today, is that the people walking around, especially in City Hall, the ones that weren't the guys in suits looking at us, were very zombie-like. And I know we love our zombies over here in America. But that's really what it was. It was just a bunch of zombies walking around. And then these guys that were this kind of strange thing. But I know there's a lot of listeners, and they're going to be like, this is, woo-woo and all this stuff. And I appreciate that angle. So this has concerned me a lot on this thing, because it's like talking to someone who saw an alien, or, saw a flying saucer or saw a demon. There's no common frame of reference, but I think people can simply start Googling these ships and plows and scales and scrolls and pens. You can't deny that. That's on paper. That's photographic. That's there. Then, when it starts to turn weird in all of our group, and this is the part that was kind of undeniable, it'd be one thing if someone, or just Pete or whoever, a little more sensitive folks were going, and when I say sensitive, I mean that in a good way, sensitive to what the energy is, or however you want to call that.
Yeah, I had a quick break. I know what you're going to say. Well, sorry, Joe, we had to cut you off there, but please continue, my friend.
I think you guys were, and probably the listeners could get the gist of where I was going, which is I'm the first to kind of understand, these guys are just saying things, but we all did have that feeling. It was once we moved into this area where the Masonic temple was there, and by the way, I don't really think you hit that hard enough, Clint. That Masonic temple does not look like your normal Ethan Allen, founding fathers building at all. It looks like a church with a really wild entryway, and it's right next to the incredibly ugly church you were describing as well. So you've got these two monolithic, ancient church kind of looking things, one of them being the Masonic temple.
Yeah.
And right next to it is this crazy black sculpture with the people crawling all over one another and getting crushed at the bottom, which is where we really started to feel negative, all of us, especially Pete, like you were saying. But luckily, we found a place to kind of chill out called City Hall. Probably the most hellish place on the planet. All these things are like right across the street from one another. And then you've got the compass points of the inside of the City Hall pointing to all this stuff, and even one of the angles pointing right down that avenue, which I think points to the art museum, but right off of it is the gates of hell. So anyways, I could see people saying, wow, these guys, whatever, they're talking about some stuff, but everyone in our group had the feeling, had these issues. So it gets hard to dismiss that, and I guess for any skeptics out there, just head on down there, see what you think. We were it was one of the few sunny days on the trip. We were like, beautiful sunny day, and it was some of the most horrific feelings, well, not horrific, but just something that imparted a very negative feeling, which I could not begin to deny. And I'm not usually a guy that gets that kind of stuff. So
yeah, well, I mean, how do you put something like this into words? And again, I even now understand that the things I've been putting in just as images, but not actually experiencing myself, that I could not have any real notion of how just exactly that the feeling we're talking about, that evil that I'm actually researching and putting into just pictures on my blog. I kind of realize now I'm going to have to go there and experience it for myself, because the images, I don't think, no wonder nobody believes in these conspiracies, because they haven't felt it. This wasn't just sights. This was that feeling that we had there was just amazing. I don't even know how to explain it except just dark and negative. And so, yeah, we're going to take another quick break, but... yeah, I don't even know how to explain this stuff, guys. I mean, how do you tell people what we saw? It's almost impossible.
Like Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
All right, welcome back, folks, here in the Corporation Nation. We're talking to Joe, and I think we might have lost Drew. I think we lost his connection. Hopefully he'll go back. And anyone else that wants to call in, maybe you've had an experience with this before. And one of the things that they talked about was, how do you find this stuff? And basically, I never thought about it before, but the one guy, I can't remember his name, he said, you look for you just go to the center city. There's always a city within the city. That's exactly where we were. We were in the very, very meat of the organizational buildings of the city. Usually there's banks and stuff there. Just go downtown and look at your own city and actually open your eyes for the first time. And my God, the things you'll probably see. I've seen it now in Austin. For God's sake, if you guys living in Austin, I don't know how you can live there. I'm gonna be honest. It's Masonic to the extreme, evil. Same feeling. Only when I went to Philadelphia, it was like 50 times worse. If that tells you anything, 50 times worse. I felt drained. I still feel drained. I don't know what to say, man. But Joe, crazy stuff. So let's talk about these 4 different caverns that these walk-through areas. The one which was, I don't know how to explain it, but it was only like a 20 by 20 room, basically. I mean, it had all the symbology, it had the elephant head, it had the, tiger or lion head, it had, I think, a wolf's head, and it had something else, and then all along it were, again, these people, supporting, looks like they're straining to support the arches of government. It was horrible. It was horrifying. I mean, I felt like I was in a ceremony room or something.
Well, and it was very,
it was 40 degrees
modern vernacular. It was very politically incorrect because by the elephant was obviously a sort of, black race. If you'll forgive, again, I'm not trying to be...
There was Indian?
But you have the elephant, and then you got what's obviously Afro-American type, or just African-type folks holding up on their backs, quite literally, struggling, bent over. I mean, not just them, all the ethnic 4 pillars that were represented there, but, you've got the elephant, and then that going on with this ethnic group, and then you've got... wherever the lion comes from, or there was certainly one of the animals that we couldn't tell whether it was a dog or I should say a wolf or a bear or whatever. And then, in fact, if you go on to some of the sites that I was trying to look this stuff afterwards, they're like, yeah, is it a wolf, a bear, or a lion? They can't even figure it out. But the point was, they had sort of iconic animals, and then they had very distinct ethnic groups as these 4 pillars holding this stuff up. And again, if anyone's offended, just look it up, and I imagine Clint will have this on a blog at some point, but this ain't me. Go see it for yourself, It's right there. And by the way, the area you're talking about, Clint, the cornerstone of the building is right in that room. Like literally right there. And if anyone's into the Masonic stuff, the cornerstone is a big deal, and it was like a 20-foot drop down to the cornerstone, but you could still see it. It was very, very weird, and I mean that. Again, I can understand a lot of listeners going, "These guys are going, woo-woo on this one." But anyone want to doubt it? Just head over there to the Philadelphia City Hall. You'll do it on a sunny day. Do it at 10 in the morning. You'll still see it.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I cannot, like I said, you can't. There's no words to describe it. You can only tell people the feeling because it's the feel. Again, it's the feeling that you get. The pictures cannot possibly do it any justice. It's something you actually have to experience. And now that I've experienced it, man, I would not set foot back in that place ever in my life. I absolutely never again do I want to go back to that city. Ever. It was horrible. Yeah.
Well, let's keep going with those 4 chambers.
Well, yeah. I mean, the one we walked in one again. It went sort of got from bad to worse. First one we walked in just had some snakes and some stuff like that. It wasn't so in your face, just pure evil. The last one we went in, I don't even know where to begin. But the most prominent thing that I noticed was, and it wasn't obvious, you had to really look at it, thank God I had my glasses, was on one side it was male and one side it was female. On the one side, the man, it was a statue of a man coming out of the skin of some animal. I couldn't really tell what the animal was. And then on the other side, it was a woman coming out of snake skin, reptilian skin.
And did you notice in both cases they were doing the same thing as that other room we were referring to? They were holding up. They were arched over.
Yeah.
Holding up. Like, I mean, people are going to listen to this and they're like, yeah, whatever. But they're making it look as if they're holding the building up. They're they're making the architecture and the sculpture is making it look like these icons, these sculptures are literally holding up from the foundation the building that this is being built on. And of course, that's a symbol and it's right in your face. But in the one that you're referring to, Clint, it's like the male energy and the female energy, and that's very heavy-handed. It's even on some other things in that same room, but I'm pretty sure that's the same room where if you look at like 4 different points, almost not quite in the corners, but up high, there is something which I think some symbologists would call flat-out Baphomet. In other words, there were these goat heads. Like all in sort of 2 on one side, 2 on the other, and this was kind of a squarish, or whatever you want to call it, it was a squared off room, so you got those guys up high looking down. Make of it what you will. It doesn't have to be Baphomet, but it's these goats with the horns, with a face that looks very much classical in the kinds of things you see with all that. And then you have these figures down below, one a sort of male energy side, or male progenitor side, and female energy progenitor side on the other. They're both having to hold up the building, and the woman that's holding it up is kind of shedding out of something that looks snakeskin like, and the guy who looks very much like a classical Greek power. I mean, they both do. All these people look very Greek, very sort of classical, muscular, what have you. He's holding up his side of the building with his male power, but he's coming out of who knows? You can't even see what the headpiece is. You can just see it's coming out of, like, he's shedding skin with claw arms on it.
Almost like a bear.
Wolf. Yeah. But again, how do you throw that one away? I mean, you might just say, well, it's classical art, or it's just... It's pretty heavy-handed. It's pretty, and I think the point's already been made. This stuff, though be it sort of classical and muscular and this, it's really not pretty. It's really not beautiful. And the lighting and everything else, it's a very hellish kind of thing. And you're obviously down low, right? Even if you're on the ground level, these people are like holding stuff that's up above them. So it's like you're down in the roots of a place where these powers are holding everything up. So it's a very strange...
And people are walking through this thing every day, just absolutely ignorant of what they see. I don't know... I think that really it was the consciousness of the symbology, knowing what these things refer to, the consciousness of the energy that was happening there, that made it, it was like a battle between light and dark in my body. It was mentally draining and challenging. And by the time we got out of there and got a little farther away, we were about ready to just collapse, man. We had one more place to see, though, which was, well, when we were in the conference, the guy said, talking about the Rodin Museum, and he said, hey, guess what? The Pope is going to be visiting the gates of hell in September of 2015. We're like, what? So the Pope is going to visit the Museum of Art 2015, which, by the way, someone told us we were going to go to the Museum of Art, but by the time we got to that point, we were so exhausted and drained, we didn't want to do anything else. We had to sit down, have a drink, and eat, and then we're like, I don't want to see anymore. We didn't even recommend some of our party go to City Hall because it was too much. It was too harsh. So we're sitting there in front, and we finally say, all right, let's go to the gates of hell. It had closed already by that time, but we're at the Rodin Museum, right on the museum row there. But one guy also said go to the museum, look in the back, because there's some statues you got to see. So there's some statues of some guys there, and behind the saints or behind the politicians or whatever they're portrayed there are the reptilian like lizards, commanding them like puppets, and that's what they have in our Masonic lodge here in Salt Lake City, according to someone I know. So everything's just disturbing. Now, out in front of the gates of hell, which is the art museum exhibit, the Pope is going to come and visit. It's just funny. Pope is going to come visit the gates of hell, but it's not funny, actually. It's sick. I say it's funny because it sounds funny, but it's actually true. And that is why he's coming here. He's coming here to visit the gates of commercial being, the gate to hell, the gate to the debtor's prison we call America. That is what that place is. I realize that now. I really understand that now in so much more detail, and it really makes me want to get the hell out of this thing, especially after seeing the way they treat people there.
And so after spending the entire day not seeing anything Christian, we did finally get to see Jesus walking on water.
Yeah.
Which was so.
It was bizarre because
making fun of Christianity and mocking Jesus, and this full-time person who walks around with a white robe on and a.
Yeah, he had a staff. He was walking around in a very shallow fountain, so it looked like he was walking on water.
It was really creepy.
Yeah, he had a white robe on, and he was, long hair, looking like the anthropomorphized Jesus. Yeah, and it was obviously not a spiritual thing. He was mocking, and that was the only sign of Christ we saw in the whole city.
And that's right between City Hall and the gates of hell.
Yeah, we couldn't miss it.
No.
Well, and so outside of the gates of hell, we had the three shades, we had the thinker, we had Adam, and we had the shade, and it was just body, mind, and soul, I don't know, and over the gates of hell, the three came together, like body, mind, and soul, in my opinion, and the only way to get in is if the three shades meet, and just disturbing stuff everywhere you go, folks. I apologized to these guards afterwards. I actually felt bad that I took them there because I was feeling horrible. I could see they felt horrible. All of our energy was sucked dry. We're all fighting to stay, I don't know what the word is, in the light, in the positive. It was horrible.
Yeah, but I think all of us felt like we had to be there on that day, and we were there for a definite reason.
Yeah, I'm convinced that that's why this whole that this was the final chink in my armor that exposed the skin below. This was the final test for me. If this doesn't convince me to get out of this system and to do something about my own slavery to it, then I don't know what's going to do anything to me, because seeing it up close, it's just folks, but I apologize, because you have to actually see it and feel it for yourself, and also to have someone to commiserate with there, when you see it. Now, what was especially interesting to me, guys, and again, I'm not into this kind of stuff, but this was a real thing that happened. We were all standing in the parking lot by our cars, and so disturbed by what we'd saw. But we were standing about, I don't know, 7 or 8 of us in a tight-knit circle at the end there, and smoking a joint. We needed to. It was so disturbing. And we noticed that even before we were starting to feel warm for the first time. We were starting to have a good feeling, an energetic feeling. And we stood there for a while, and all of a sudden someone noticed, hey, I feel pretty good. And we started joking that it was because we were turning our backs on the city. You know, we had our backs turned to everything except ourselves, and we were making each other. We were protecting each other. And you know what? Damn, if that wasn't the truth, we joked about it, and someone broke the circle thinking it would be funny, just ha-ha. And as soon as that circle was broken, man, I don't know if you guys felt it, but my whole left leg and left side felt like it was it just got damaged or something. It was like the energy came rushing back in, and everybody must have felt it because we quickly, made the circle again. It was, I don't know how to explain this, folks. I really don't. I'm not used to this kind of feeling. I haven't felt like this since 9/11, honestly. An absolute mixture, perfect mixture of both satisfaction that what I've been saying has been correct, and now I know with my soul what's happening there, and also of horror, shock, and awe, pure and utter, just dueling feelings. I've not felt this since 9/11. I really haven't. I haven't felt this horrible. I haven't felt this unenergetic. I was unable to do anything today. I really just couldn't write. I couldn't do anything. I don't know if you guys have been feeling that, but did you have the same experience?
Completely useless since I got home.
Yeah.
I've been working on the archives and not getting anywhere. But
Joe, did we lose you? Uh-oh. Well, we have
yeah, and you mentioned 9/11. It's a very similar feeling to it. Like you're completely helpless, and you can see it right in front of you, and it's being hidden, and it's kind of like a hammer with a rubber glove hitting you. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Are you having troubles getting back to normal? I mean, are you still energetically drawn down?
No, it's kind of like, can you hear me?
Yeah, speak in your mic, though.
Pardon me?
Speak in the microphone.
Okay, trying. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, it's been very physical. It's like I've been beat up, punched on.
Yeah, man, I even took a bath when I got home. I'm like, I fixed up some Epsom salts, and I'm like, I'm going to soak this out of here, man. Anyway, let's go to the phones. Maybe some people have had similar experiences. Maybe people just want to call BS. I don't know. No idea how this is going to be taken. This was like a support group for me. I feel like I need to verify what I saw. Let's go to Fred in Iowa. Welcome, Fred.
Hi, Clint. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, good to hear from you, Fred.
Oh, good. I don't know if you recall our conversation 4 or 5 months ago when I told you that I got some books and taught myself self-hypnosis, and I hypnotized 5 women. You recall that?
I think so.
Well, I won't go on because I could go on for about 30 hours, and I wish I had the chance. But you guys were in a state of mind. In other words, if I will say, you were close to the Lord, and you understood or seen this evil. Now, the people you said that were in there that were on their telephones and looking at the floor, they are the zombies, and they're getting it subliminal. Now listen to me and get your pencil ready and write this down, and I'm sure it's as a heart attack. The secret behind secret societies. Walter Weiss, V-E-I-T-H. It will take you clear back to the Tower of Babel. All of these signs right up through, and you'll understand them in detail. And I can empathize and I understand the feelings that your group has. I'm serious, Clint. That's all for now. I'll talk to you later.
All right, my friend. Secret behind secret societies? Will do. I recognize the name. Walter, I've heard his stuff before. Let's go to Sovereign Man. Sovereign Man, welcome.
Greetings. I'd recommend Walter J. Weiss, but actually I would recommend the 37-part series called Total Onslaught.
Yes, yes.
That's the one to watch. Actually, I posted a link in the chat to Riddles in Stone, The Secret of America's Beginnings. And that they run a whole series of America's Secret Beginnings. I believe that's what it's called. And it really goes into it. Actually, it has to do with the ley lines in the 33rd parallel.
Right.
It goes all the way over to and these actually are vortices where they have set these cornerstones. And in essence, those rooms, I believe, they were where they were invoking spirit, and I hope you guys prayed before you went on that tour.
We really should have.
Yeah. Well, maybe Yahweh in 2016 we'll get to take that tour again, and I'll be able to be present. Because that's what you got to do when you go into Philadelphia.
The filth of Delphia.
Yeah, the Oracle is right there. You're in it. You were standing in it. You didn't even realize it. It was like just imagine this, Clint. If there was, I don't know if you've seen the Eyes Wide Shut video.
Sure.
Yeah, the Kubrick movie that I believe that's why they killed him, because they let the cat out of the bag somewhat.
Yep.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of energy and a lot of blood that was spilt in that room you were standing in.
I guarantee it, man. Like I said, the temperature in the one section literally dropped, and it was open air. It wasn't closed off. It was open air, and it dropped 40 degrees.
Oh, yeah. People think it's all hocus pocus and Ouija or whatever, but it's a spiritual battle for our very hearts, minds, and souls, and if you're not wearing armor, you will fall under the spell. There's no doubt. You will be attacked, because if you're a seeker of the truth, you are the biggest threat to what they're doing.
Tell you, man, they recognized us.
Mm-hmm. Sure. But see, if you guys would have came together and prayed against it, you would have been triumphant, brother. That's the problem. We need to come together.
At this point, I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah.
Like I said, when we were standing in that circle, man, and we felt each other's presence, and we had that shared experience, we were probably unknowingly doing just that.
Yeah, it was actually feeding on you and attacking you at the same time. Yeah, like when the wars occur, because we all know that the wars are contrivance, and that the wars are actually, occult symbolism put on the sacrifice, and they send them out to the battlefield to feed their deity, i.e. Lucifer, that blood that it requires. And they say that actually there's a cloud or a consciousness that becomes present over the battlefield.
Did you ever see an old movie that they made? It was a cartoon. It was called was it Wizards? Yeah. It came out around the same time as Heavy Metal. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's kind of what that reminds me of. It was about technology and how the sound could be used, and the video imagery and all the imagery could be used to thwart the other side. And yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all predictive programming.
Well, that was one of the other things, guys, that I think that I noticed especially, and maybe not so much you guys, but the notion of all the words and the symbols, all the brand naming and all of the stuff. I mean, half the billboards looked like they were right out of They Live. I mean, it was the symbolry, every letter is a symbol in the English language, and all the symbols and all the corporate branding and logos, all of that reflects all of these symbols. And now I really understand that, too. Like, I really understand that the reason people aren't seeing things so blatantly in their face as these statues and stuff that we were seeing is because it's also being used in every single product that we buy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Were you able to take the tour with Freeman? Because Freeman has a lot of knowledge as far as the symbolism and the occult right in your face, even in plain view.
Oh, yeah. No, we didn't get I didn't get a chance to actually connect with any of those guys, so it was just us taking it in. And it couldn't have been any more perfect, I don't think, than it was. So whatever happened was, in my opinion, these guys' opinion, supposed to happen.
Yeah. Nothing happens. There's no such thing as coincidence, right?
No, and who, I told people to meet us down there, and some people said, well, if you're not organized, if you don't know where exactly you're going, we're not going to go. And guess what? They didn't show up. And if they would have showed up, it probably would have gone differently. Whatever happened was meant to happen. I swear, man, I was meant to see what I saw with these guys and bond with these super wonderful
Were you guys able to capture any imagery?
Yes, absolutely. I'm waiting for Drew and for another guy up in Canada named Stubbs. He's supposed to hopefully send me his pictures.
Really wanting to see that. And kudos going out to Drew for maintaining the Corporation Nation archives. We really appreciate what you do there, Drew.
No problem, thanks. There's a one picture on the archives now of the guy peeling off his animal suit, or the other way around anyway. It's on the archive site now.
Drew also put up my, I didn't know he had it actually, he put up my little speech at the conferences up there on Corporation Nation Radio Archives.wordpress.com, and it's good. I mean, I guess I was just reading from my little PowerPoint presentation, but you can listen to the presentation if you want. It got cut a little short, which was a little upsetting, but we were off track.
To the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
All right, folks, welcome back. Good times. Hey, guys, any other things that we missed talking about? I mean, what do you say when the security guard in front of the U.S. Custom House tells you USA stands for under Satan's authority? That's pretty hard to forget, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, I would actually thank that guy, because that's about where that tour turned that direction. In fact, I would almost call that the official beginning of where that's where the tour took that detour, or maybe not even a detour, right into the heart of the darkness, which we had to lighten up by going over to the gates of hell, which luckily we couldn't get into completely. But
exactly, gates of hell was about the least disturbing thing, if that tells you something, right? Yeah. Let's go. All right, we got someone who's saying it's Lilith in New York, but I think it's someone else. Lilith, welcome to the show.
Lilith from upstate New York. How you like that?
John, good of you to call, man.
Well, it's not only John. I'm over at another person's house right now too.
There's all farmers here.
Oh, no, these are the other guys. This is Pete and John. Yeah, these guys, wonderful, 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 wonderful specimens of man. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
Did we miss anything?
The people going insane on the right-hand side of the gates of hell.
Oh, the one guy, yeah. That was drawing in the dirt.
Yeah, that's true. Can't miss that, huh?
Yeah, that was a little strange.
Yeah, we were walking back from the Gates of Hell exhibit to sounds so funny, to back into hell, I guess. And there was just a guy on the side of the road, and the best way I could describe it is he was possessed, and he had a stick, and he was writing in the dirt, and he was making this weird language and fun, and we passed him up, we're looking at him, and I'm like, no, I gotta stop, it's me, I gotta stop and see if he needs help. And he said, no, I'm fine, man, I'm fine, all's good, it's all good. So he was like, I don't know how to, but it was par for the course, what you'd expect to see. This place, it was organized chaos in a strange way, wasn't it?
It was like they lived with the people sneering at us. It was just crazy.
Well, I felt sorry for you, Pete, man. You before we even got over to City Hall, you were feeling bad, weren't you?
I could feel the ley line. I could feel the power there. It was an intense place. That one corridor that was cold, I'm pretty sure some bad stuff has happened there. It was a very, evil place. I was very glad to get home.
Yeah, well, me too, trust me. I think we all felt that way. I think we all wanted to be back in our warm beds and away from that place, man.
I am glad that we went, and I am glad that I experienced that, because I think I underestimated, evil. But I also think that, like the guy drawing in the ground, they felt that they needed to let it known that we were there, that they knew we were there. So they were intimidated a little bit just by 9 people paying attention.
Yeah, it did feel like that. It really did. Guys, I don't know what to say, man. There is just no way that we can stress how what we're trying to say. There's just no way to put this into words. It's impossible. You actually have to go there, and I would never want to go back there again. But I'm like, you have to go there, folks. You're going to have to experience it and be aware of it. And see it for yourself in order to actually get what we're saying.
And don't walk in the ceremonial circle at the crossroads. I couldn't believe you guys kept walking through that. It was driving me crazy. It was driving me nuts. You guys kept walking through that.
Yeah, well, I know. I don't know what to say. We were so enamored and taken aback by the stuff that, how did you guys feel as we were leaving?
I felt good in the parking lot, and I really didn't feel comfortable until I was within 20 miles of my house. I'm glad I was following a cop.
Wow. That was, haven't had that feeling in a while, huh?
He was actually speeding home, too. I couldn't believe how fast he was driving.
Well, it was certainly indeed a pleasure and a lifelong, memorable experience for myself to meet you guys, spend so much time out there. It was wonderful talking and just hanging out and eating and doing all that. It was great, man. I really appreciate you guys coming out.
Oh yeah, we had a great time.
I'll send some pictures. I have some. The real dark places I had a tough time taking pictures of, but I got some interesting pictures, especially around the Gates of Hell, and many fasci pictures. So it was pretty.
Oh yeah, the hidden fasci on the statues. Yeah,
loads of them. Yeah, and all kinds of skulls. Like they were so happy that we got it down on paper that they're slaves. They were dancing. That first guy that we saw, the signer, he was like, "Whoa, we got it down on paper. They're slaves."
Yeah.
So we had a very interesting conversation with Rajul on the way home.
Yeah.
And we need to share with you sometime offline a little bit.
Offline, huh?
Yeah. It's a little bizarre, a little far out for this conversation, I think.
All right. Well, after Monday, I don't think anything is far out anymore. At this point, I'm a true believer, man.
Keith came up. I guess you could. The cliche thing, his awakening was through the occult and that route. And he says that guy was actually drawing sigils into the ground.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we've also come to realize that him, myself, and John, I don't know how we all ended up riding home together and telling our stories, but we've all had a near-death or out-of-body death experience in our lives, both for Jewel and I as children. So it was pretty crazy.
Well, like I said, man, meant to be.
Yeah, the whole weekend felt like Providence to me. It just seemed like I met the people that I went down there to meet, and
make new friends, new lifelong friends. That's it.
I feel a lot more powerful and stronger than I was before.
Well, dude, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think we have a choice but to be friends, and not just friends, but commiserating friends.
I agree.
I mean, you're my support group for this because you're the only ones that experienced it, right?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It was an amazing thing.
It's kind of
to work on.
Going against the radio. Sorry to the listeners, but hey, support group, good to hear from Pete and John.
Yeah.
And already hearing from Drew. So I mean, those guys were definitely my core, and I'm afraid you've actually identified it, Clint. It is a support group, and only we know what we experienced, right?
Yeah, and anybody that does go, man, I say don't go alone. Take someone that you can talk to and that's open to, you know, and that's conscious, because it's the consciousness. And I'll say it, man, it's that Christ consciousness, the God consciousness of what nature is and is not, consciousness of symbology, symbols, words, letters, meanings. You better have someone with you that you can talk to and gain some spiritual energy from and support, because I mean, you know, for me to say this, guys, this is just not how I usually talk. It's not how I usually, you know, express myself, but this was a spiritually uplifting experience, even though, in fact, it was a killer of spirituality. It really and truly has changed my life. That's all I can say.
I have to agree with you. I came home. I literally came home a new person. I really am a new person right now. I totally feel different than before I went down. And it's because of all you guys. Really, it's because of meeting all you guys, meeting some like-minded people. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to your show going, oh, God, who's in my area? Well, look at me and Pete. We lived a half hour away. We didn't know each other before we went down there.
Now you're drinking beers.
Only me. He doesn't drink.
Gin. I drink gin.
I know, man. Hey, well, so let's see. I don't know if my board up can handle it. Well, let's go out a little bit and see if we can get another caller on here. Keep you guys on and see if we can get Gary in Arkansas. If not, let me know.
Hi, Clint, and your gentleman friends there. There was a question that was burning in my mind early on in the program, and it was kind of touched on by some of the callers and you people. But this statement, USA thing under Satan's authority, was that said by your tour guide leader?
That was said by a security guard standing in front, a black security guard standing in front of the U.S. Customs House while we were taking photos of the building.
Oh, okay. The real question that came to my mind early on in the program was, you guys are like-minded and spiritually of the same, what I want to call, thinking, and certainly not of the dark side, and that your sheer numbers of like-minded people together, I'm wondering from a conscious standpoint that your consciousness butted heads with the consciousness of the tour guide, who may be willingly, unwillingly, or unknowingly plugged into the dark side. Do you think there might have been something going there?
There was no tour guide. We were all lost. We went around. We said, let's just go where the Spirit takes us. We had no guide. We were simply taking it all in. God was our guide.
Sounds to me like that's not a place to go alone. That sounds to me like you need safety in numbers.
Absolutely
I would not recommend that to any individual.
Yeah. One other kind of quick comment that was kind of touched on. I'm well aware of the energy vortexes, the ley lines. I've heard that discussed at length, and you'll notice a lot of the old cathedrals and stone monoliths and everything were built on these ley lines. And this 33-degree parallel, do you suppose you guys were standing on a vortex connected directly to hell itself?
I'm absolutely certain I was standing on something unnatural or natural in a way that I don't understand it. What about you guys?
Yeah, we were on ley lines. No doubt about it. And it's, you have to experience this stuff, because I try to be very critical and what have you, but once you experience it, it gets hard to deny. So then you have to go for answers, and yes, energy moves. It moves on ley lines. The symbols that we saw, they impart some kind of energetic change. And the only way you can get there is to experience it. And I got to tell you, I've been a holdout skeptical on this kind of stuff. But you got 12 good people. They're all having very similar reactions. And whatever, I think it's the same color. We were just sheep going into the wolf's territory, I mean, just some kind of good...
that probably was an awfully large mouthful.
Good energy, but very naive and not really knowing what they were doing, going into a very, very heavy, dark place, and only experiencing it firsthand could I even say that. And I think there is something about what the caller is saying. We were all together with our naive, positive energy, and but conscious energy, whatever that means. And
awareness, it was something. And I say again, I've heard Freeman, I've heard all kinds of people talk about it, but I say you must go. I mean, I don't want anybody to go there, but I say you almost have to. You almost have to go there and experience the feeling of awareness of it and how it defeats you before you can understand it. You can see all the pictures you want, but until you experience it, like we experienced it, there's no talking about it. It doesn't do any good. That's why nobody gets convinced when you talk to them about it.
Well, I think that wolf you were talking about got probably a little bit more than he could swallow, having 12 of you like-minded people throwing that slug of positive energy into that hole of negativity, and that's about all I got to say.
I know, all right, man. Thanks for the call. I agree. I think we were projecting something that was completely foreign to that place, and people were picking up on it. Because we didn't belong there, folks. You agree?
Absolutely. Incredible that it turned out as well as it did,
That we weren't harassed or anything? I know, man.
Well, we were harassed.
Say again?
I said we were harassed by the one security guard. That's the only time I think we were harassed.
I don't know. It was an intimidating place anyways. Some of the looks and the sneers that some of those politicians and people that worked in that city office were giving us was an intense place.
Yeah.
And they definitely recognized us as something different. And,
Dude, I don't even want to think about it. It's giving me the chills right now, folks. I don't know what to say, man. Let's go to Friday.
John and my wife. I'm like silent. I'm doing great.
Dude, feel the love, man. Fred in Michigan, welcome to the show. Drives me crazy. And of course, the Delphi, the Oracle of Delphi, which is what our last caller was speaking of. The Oracle of Delphi, as in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In classic antiquity, an oracle, listen to this, folks, an oracle was a person or agency considered to provide wise counsel or prophetic predictions inspired by the gods, such as a form of divination. Agency, oracle, agency. Isn't that interesting? Last caller of the night will be, looks like Fred in Michigan. Welcome, Fred.
Welcome back, Clint.
Thanks, man. Barely made it
Welcome back.
It's my soul.
Oh, man. Well, when I was growing up, I think there was a series called Our Man Flint on TV. So I nominate you as Our Man Clint, okay? And hearing this, I had, it tweaked my memory of Philadelphia in that brotherly love. Well, of course, the master of disaster, Satan, Lucifer, and it's what I call Luciferian Talmudic serpent semenite spawn bag operatives that run the show at all levels. I'm surprised there's not a version of the Georgia Guidestones there. Maybe what we need to do is interface with some of the locals, maybe even art, maybe as a, I don't know, some sort of a antidote, force the issue on erecting the 10 Commandments or something like that. But Michael Hoffman, I got to thinking, he authored a book, Judaism's Strange Gods, also Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. Whenever I've encountered an overwhelming feeling or sense of evil or presence, I simply reflect on the fact that we are creations of the great I Am, the great heavenly Creator, Savior, Father, and Son, whom I've, way back when I was in Roman Catholic grade school, one of the nuns who seemed to be a mystic, she directed us to, when we prayed, that we should pray to the she said, heavenly, majestic Creator, Savior, Father, Son, Yahweh Yahshua. She didn't say Jesus, she said Yahweh Yahshua, and she explained that. And then recently, there's this guy, Classic Redneck Radio, who comes on. You guys should check this guy out. This is the first reincarnation of that woman, that nun that I had in grade school, who actually used Yahweh Yahshua for the Father's name. There's power in that name, fellas. Absolutely power. And we
you're supposed to say that. You're supposed to say a prayer to Christ, actually, when you're having sleep paralysis as well. They say that takes away the demon or the demonic presence that you feel. And I've been a victim of that wherever I slept, where someone had died before. I had sleep paralysis. Very scary thing. But hey, guys, thanks for joining me tonight again.